Ethnic agitations, which seem to be the in thing in Nigeria today, do not necessarily mean that Nigeria will break up. Agitations are common in democracies and are mutually exclusive from the parameters that determine the success of elections. Everybody wants to be heard. Therefore, there is no better time than now, when the next elections are close by, for these agitators to mobilize their people, ensuring that the best candidates who represents their interests gets into office. The truth of the matter is, whether we like it or not, regardless of what the naysayers and the prophets of doom, including my opponents, say, we all want a better Nigeria, and the mandate remains with us to decide what happens, because whether we like it or not, we are the ones directly affected, and we are the ones that can decide the course of governance in our country. The process has been defective, true, but does that mean we should condemn the system? Fellow Nigerians, Nigeria is a multi-ethnic community having over 250 ethnic groups and over 510 languages. The only way to neutralize the tension between these ethnic groups in terms of leadership is by elections. Unless you are advocating that we revert to a state of nature, which according to Thomas Hobbes, a famous English political scientist in the 17th century, is a state wherewith there were no rules, there is no governance. Or you want us to revert to the military regime, where even the corruption you talk about cannot be advocated, cannot be contested in the court of law. Ladies and gentlemen, my opponents talk about the militarization of states and the policemen at the voting polls. You forget that people will only come out to vote when they are sure that their safety is guaranteed. You also talk about the Boko Haram insurgency and trouble in the northeast. Afghanistan, regardless of the Taliban, conducted a successful election, and it was acknowledged by the United States and embassy. If Afghanistan could do that, Nigeria is not different. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I have earlier made mention of the positive trends proving that the 2015 election will be a colossal success. It further gladdens my heart to let you know that Nigeria has been promised international assistance from great nations like the United States and the United Kingdom. In the words of the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, James F. Entwistle, the United States wants Nigeria to win its war on terror, and it's prepared to assist Nigeria with every means possible. My opponents have come to show themselves as astute students of history, but we are looking forward. We are the Nigerians that truly believe that we can achieve a great nation, better governance. It is often said that in brevity, mastery is more. In brevity, you exude mastery. I leave you with the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States of America. Let us not forget that government is ourselves and not an alien power over us. The ultimate rulers of our democracy are not presidents, senators, the INEC chairman, but the voters of this country. Thank you.
Thomas L. Friedman. When well-articulated public speakers or debaters feel free to say anything without any fact-checking, it becomes difficult for a democracy to think intelligently about big issues. Well, my fellow Nigerians, my intelligent people, we should not be moved by this. So let me redirect the House on the motion. When a doctor wants to treat a patient, imagine if he gives a prescription for curing a headache to a person who has typhoid. Would you call that a qualified doctor? Of course not. Let's isolate the possibilities. The crisis that exists in northern Nigeria is as a result of a rebellious group seeking the end of Western education. They are not politically inclined, and they are hurting their own people in a desperate attempt to divide the nation and get attention. That is mutually exclusive and unrelated to the existence of an election. Although, truth be told, the existence of an insurgent group can affect the elections, but let us not forget the bone of contention in this debate. In spite of this, Nigerians have stood strong, and a good example is the Osun State gubernatorial election, where masked soldier men were deployed to oversee these elections. But the people of the state stood strong in solidarity and voted for who they wanted. It is not about the current scenario of the country, but the tenacity and resoluteness of the Nigerian people. Students of the University of Lagos, my fellow Nigerians, we all know that empty barrels make what? So do empty threats. Because a man was threatened by armed robbers when he was about to use the ATM. Does that devalue the importance of ATM in his life? The Nigerian we see today has thrived despite threats. Even with the threat of the secession of Biafra, we still survived as one Nigeria. So empty threat towards an election is not a marker of dividing Nigeria, but remaining strong under it is a marker of liberation. Of course, the threat should not be underestimated, but the existence of a threat has a positive, cognitive, and psychological effect to wake up Nigerians, our electoral committee, our security personnel, ensuring that they are much more effective in maintaining our standard for a free and fair election. As sure as it is that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, those threats strengthen us in a unified circle of life. Our national survival supersedes our egoistic and parochial approach. The unity of this country does not depend on the outcome of any election. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I believe that Nigerians are tough people. So what have I been saying since morning? I have given you 8 points, and they go like this. 1, proliferation of our democracy. 2, proliferation of national integration. 3, political awareness. 4, social stability. 5, proliferation and strengthening of a positive national image. 6, influx of foreign investors. 7, sense of urgency. And finally, unity. So standing here today, I am delighted because I can still see smiles on your faces. The 2015 elections will ensure that we sustain prosperity and promote the cause of unity. Your vote is your right, it's your responsibility, and it's your power. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you.
All the people, all the times. It is better for us not to know anything than for everything we know not to be so. A notable Chinese proverb reads, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." I'm here as an advocate of construction, not deconstruction. I'm here as a creative critic, not as a deconstructive critic. My opponents have come here to make a couple of fallacious assertions, which I deem fit to correct. According to David Easton, politics is the authoritative allocation of scarce resources. My opponents have come here to make a fuss about the political expenditures of the political parties. But I ask, what is democracy about? If history serves me right, Abraham Lincoln once said, democracy is the government for the people, by the people, and to the people. Necessarily, to get to the people, you must spend money. Also, my opponent has also come out here to say Nigeria has 6 billion in debt. May I correct her and say, Trite Economics tells me that Nigeria has $24 billion in savings. The prophets of doom have come out here to say that Nigeria as an entity will not survive the 2015 general elections. But this still begs the basic, crucial question which I asked in my first presentation: what alternative have they provided to elections? Greatest Akokite, are you aware of any alternative that has been provided to elections? So far as I know, elections are the best system of governance for any race under mankind. It has been proven and tested from its origin in Greece to its modern entrenchment in the United States of America. Democracy has and will always continue to be the best system. Would they rather we have so-called corrupt politicians in office for life? Would they rather we have military dictators coming from their barracks to rule us? Clearly, elections are the only things that we have as civilians in terms of civil power over democratic institutions. My opponents, the soothsayers of doom, have come here to say Nigeria was united by a fiat of Lord Lugard. But I dare say, the United States of America was united under Abraham Lincoln, forcefully through a civil war. We all know where the United States is here today. Now, someone has actually come here to say that Nigeria is allergic to democracy. At the last count, we've been practicing democracy for the last 14 years. Yes, we are not perfect. Yes, it has its dooms. But however, we are practicing it and we are making progress, definitively. Nigeria was not made perfect, but in the words of Professor Dora Akunyili at the just concluded national conference, our common values outweigh our differences. Greatest Nigerians, I shall leave you with these words of Mandela. He said, it always seems impossible until it's done. May I add to that the words of Kwame Nkrumah that we Nigerians look neither east nor west but forward. Thank you very much.
But the topic of this debate is whether the 2015 election will make and not mar Nigeria, and not for us to provide an alternative to this. One of my co-debaters must be the public relations officer for Governor Babatunde Rajafashola, because he came here and all he could say was the achievement of just one governor out of 36 state governors. Isn't this ironic in a country of about 250 ethnic groups, and all we can say just one out of 36 state governors? One of my co-debaters also came here and said that the former US President, Abraham Lincoln, said that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Let me remind you that when Abraham Lincoln said this, he was referring to America. He was referring to a nation that was not ethnicized with 250 ethnic groups. He was talking about a nation that was united with one language, with one culture, and that is a nation. I say Nigeria is a state amalgam, and the 2015 election cannot work the state amalgam. Elections in democratic settings only work nations, and Nigeria is not a nation. If my opponents are saying that Nigeria is a country of unity, how come the recent national conference that was held, how come that most of the issues that went unresolved were issues that went along ethnic lines, that even got most of the delegates in disagreement, even taken to personal rants? My opponents need to give me an answer to this. My co-debaters also talked about an election that will come without sentiment. How come without sentiment? The largest political party in Africa, the People's Democratic of Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria, chooses its candidates based on zoning. First, Yoruba. Second, Hausa. Third, Igbo. And someone is telling me that ethnicity is not working here. The 2015 election will mar Nigeria. Finally, I have to say to you that by the time 2015 gets closer, we will see more parameters that will destabilize Nigeria as a nation. And that's why I tell you, the 2015 election will mar Nigeria. Thank you.